Living in harmony is possible if you know your emotions and how to handle them. In this podcast, Dr. Carmen Roman will share with you in an engaging way the current psychology by sharing herself or interviewing experts who will inspire you. Learn how to live a life of fullness and how to recover your emotional harmony with Dr. Roman. Welcome to Emotions in Harmony.
Hola amigos, welcome to another episode of Emotions in Harmony. This time we are going to talk about fear. And I am between clients right now. I have a little time, so I want to share with you about this important topic. It is very important that we address our fears when they are manageable, that we learn how to manage our fears so they don't become a huge problem. Again, I love to see you in therapy. I love when you come and take care of yourself. But also, I believe in the power of prevention. So, in today's episode, let's talk about fears and how to prevent or how to attend when it's needed. Fear is an emotion that every human being has felt. Fear is a series of changes in our body and our mind. And actually, fear exists so we can survive. For example, a sudden attack from somebody, a car accident, a very dangerous situation. It helps us to focus our energies, our resources to survive that moment. Fear motivates us to fight or to escape, or to stay frozen and play dead, which is also a good technique sometimes. So, it's a protection. But what happens when this fear is out of place or it continues? It continues to be in our body even when we don't need it. That, I will call it for today, the mental and emotional fear. What are the psychological reactions to fear? Well, we have heartbeat, our hands are sweaty, and we have more energy than normal. We can jump higher, we can move higher, we can lift something heavier. It is, again, a normal response to our body, but when it's this emotional and mental fear out of place, it makes us suffer. We really suffer with that kind of fear, and this is the kind of fear that we are going to talk about today. What are the common reactions to fear? Well, we tend to minimize it, or we tend to make it bigger, or we tend to ignore it. We make jokes about it. This is why there is a lot of jokes about death, and about trauma, and about rape, and about all of these very difficult situations for our mind, for our mental health to handle. We tend to get angry, too, when we are afraid. Or we tend to divert the target. We change the topic. We don't want to talk about it. All of those are common reactions to fear. And if we know ourselves, we start realizing when we are afraid and we are doing something else. So analyzing and working on ourselves, it really pays off when it comes to our emotions, because we tend to sometimes ignore that if we are angry is because we are so afraid, and then we tend to blame some other people, and then we tend to break our relationships. And it doesn't need to be that way. What are some examples of fear? We are afraid of the future, for example, because it's unknown, because it has so much uncertainty. So we are afraid of something that we don't know. We are afraid of success, and you say, oh, no, I'm not afraid of success, Dr. Carmen. It's just that I don't know how to be successful. Well, consider for a little while, what about if you are afraid to be successful, and the little or couple times that you were successful, you were so afraid that you managed to break that success, to stop being successful. We, of course, are afraid of accidents. We are very afraid of losing a person that we love. We are afraid of suffering. This is why sometimes we get addictions, because addictions is a initial and sometimes relief about our fears in the short terms, of course. We are afraid of new challenges. We are afraid of dying. We are afraid of flying. And believe it or not, the number one for most human beings is we are afraid of public speaking. Sometimes even so, more than dying and flying. Public speaking terrifies us because it makes us vulnerable. So those are examples of common fear. We all have it. Sometimes people manage to handle them and still do their steps, but some others people don't manage to handle it. So think about our fears. Think about it as if they were metaphors. What about if they are metaphors of something deep, of something more profound in our life? Then our memories become emotional, selective. When we are afraid of something and it's a metaphor for something else, we tend to live in our life selecting the information. Therefore, sometimes we are more afraid than we should. Phobia is anxiety disorder. So we are going to talk about phobia here. But our emotional memories are powerful and alert us to the dangers of the original situation. So being afraid of something now that gets connected with the memories of back in our past is not a bad thing. It's actually kind of an alarm system. It's telling you something needs to be solved. Of course, there are therapies that focus on solving the past. And when you solve the past, it's very valuable because then you make better your present and your future. But some other therapies, like myself, we focus on going back and forth between the past, the present, and the future. Because the past has very, very valuable information, we want to go and recover those memories. We want to go and recover those moments when you start being afraid of something. But we also want to work on what happened here and now that opens that door, opens that Pandora box that you don't want to open. And we also want to know what you fear in the future that is provoking you anxiety. So I like always to think about fear in a metaphor. For example, if somebody has phobia at the snake, it's a very common phobia actually, somebody is afraid of snakes, I would like to think about sexuality, femininity, spirituality, all of those symbols, medicine for example, all of those symbols that a snake may represent for you. Every item, every object is a different symbol for every person. But commonly, people tend to represent a snake and spirituality and femininity and deep, profound transformation, for example. So they develop a phobia. It means they are terrified of their own spirituality or their own feminine power or their own medicine power or something like that. So I don't stay only on the fear of snakes. We don't talk in the session of the color of the snakes and how the snakes move and blah, blah, blah. We don't do that. We work on the metaphor and see how this works for you. And of course, there are therapies that are exposure therapy that we are going to talk about it and put a picture and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I have a lot of respect actually for fear. I really do. I have a lot of gratitude for fear when a client brings some fear. Because we cannot just take it away. We are not like a computer, that you just erase a program, delete it, and that's it. No, we are more complicated than that. So, if I take away that fear without working with what is it, how it became that fear or that phobia, what happened in the past, what happened in the present when this fear gets bigger, if I take that fear away, the only thing that will happen is that something else comes into place. because we didn't went to the roots, yeah? We want to go to the roots and say what happened there. So in that sense, I have a lot of respect for fear, because fear is informing me that you were protecting yourself at some point and some moment. And that fear is helping you to stay healthy, to stay alive. So we want to know the message. We want to analyze, find the message for that fear. So be really kind and patient to yourself when you are afraid of something. Actually, I am asking you, be really kind and patient with somebody, your family member, your partner, your daughter, your son. Somebody is afraid of something. We don't want to go and make these people more afraid, or we don't want to make them jump into solving it immediately, because that can be an abrupt way of healing, and actually it may end up in not healing. It may end up in these people mistrusting you. These people know that she cannot come to you or he cannot come to you with their fears. You are not trustworthy anymore. So, what it seems to be irrational for the normal eye, it can be very rational, very logical for our emotional and psychological history. So I invite you to explore, to observe, to get to be friend with your fear, and bring and explore and open the gifts that has for you. So once you find that information, you will be more likely to solve the fear in the present time. Of course, we all are afraid of being hurt emotionally or physically. Yeah, we are all afraid. And we want to be afraid because that keeps us safe. So again, I'm telling you, being patient, being kind, loving with your fears will help you to solve it in a better way and to solve it at the speed that you want to. Now, we are going to talking about how to face our fears. So, choose the fears that are worth solving. Choose fears that you are able to face slowly, the easiest one. And then, once you get in the muscle of solving fear, you can get into bigger ones. For example, if you are afraid of getting lost, some people say in the session, Carmen, I am really afraid of getting lost. I don't want to go and wander or drive around because I am afraid. Thank God we have all of these maps now. But some people are really afraid of go and drive in new places or do new things or find new stores or go and do shopping in a new area, etc. So what I am asking you is to take one step at a time. You can do your research, you can look in internet, you can study the map, you can be sure that you have enough battery in your phone, in your device, so you will be able to come back. You can take baby steps and just drive one more street and another street, and it's just the matter of being comfortable in exploring new ways to face your fear. Nothing wrong with doing baby steps. Nothing wrong with admitting I am afraid of being lost. I am afraid of the process. What about if in the process I discover something? I'm afraid of change. I'm afraid of being uncomfortable. It's important that you put your fears into perspective. Because when we are during the night, when we are having insomnia, when we are thinking rather than acting, our fear tends to get bigger. It's dark, it's the night, you are in your bed, you're supposed to be resting, but you are thinking about your interview, your job interview tomorrow, and how terrible it will be, and how with difficult questions, and how bad you will look, and blah, blah, blah. That is a combination of a little bit of normal fear, because we all are afraid of new things sometimes, but it's a combination of your thoughts. Your thoughts are not helping you. So you need to learn to say thank you to your thoughts and taking your thoughts as suggestions. Say thank you. Because your thought may be saying they are going to ask you something that you don't know. And you say, wow, thank you. I already prepared myself and I will do my best. And your fear may say, or your thinking, your thought may say, you are not going to be finding the address, yeah? And you say, well, thank you. That helps me to prepare. I will put my map in the morning. I will print it in case my cell phone battery died. Yeah? So it's a little steps that you are kind of negotiating with your fear and put them into perspective, because when you wake up in the morning, actually the fears are not that big. Sometimes, or 90% of the times, we worry about things that will not happen in reality. 90% of the time, things will not happen in reality. And also, if this happens, whatever you are afraid it will happen, you don't know how you are going to answer until it happens. So remember, nothing happens until actually happens. For example, I am very afraid that I will put an example. One of my clients say, I'm very afraid of my partner, losing their job, because then we don't know what we are going to do at home. Okay. So actually, it's not happening now. Now he or she has a job. Now you are okay. So it's a good time to start planning. It's a good time to do something about it. Then when it happens, you are more prepared. And in the past, you already did something. You already survived without a job or your partner. So put them into perspective. Make a list of what you are already losing when you are afraid of something. Carmen, I am afraid of going into a new neighborhood or joining a new group. I'm so afraid. Okay, let's make a list together of what you are already losing because you don't join that group that you want. I'm afraid to go to the gym because I don't know anybody. Well, what happened when you don't go to the gym? And then put it into a balance. Do I choose to face my fear, or do I stay with my fear and keep losing what I am losing? Observe those habits of people who do it. People who face their fears and solve them or do things anyway have some kind of personality. Observe that personality and see what of those aspects of that personality can suit you, can be for you, that you can copy them. It's okay to copy successful people. Go ahead and copy them until you find your own way and you become very unique. And pretty soon, you will be so surprised that somebody is actually copying your style. So it is okay. It's okay to get inspired by others. Approach those people. Ask them what they did. Ask them how they feel sometimes. Ask them what they help, how they help themselves. Because that will be very helpful. Have an idea of have a mental picture of what person you are becoming once you face that fear. What happens if you face that fear of going to the gym and making new friends there? What kind of person you will be? Probably you will be a healthier person, a more social person, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? So that picture, that mental picture, you can put it in a drawing, you can write it down or something. It will be your motivation. And why not? Find some magazines and cut a picture of somebody who looks like you want to look for motivation. Act more than plan. Acting is a very wonderful medicine for fear. You can be reading about swimming. You can read all you want, but if you don't actually enter the swimming pool, you will never face that fear. So sometimes you don't even need to read. You enter the swimming pool and slowly start swimming, and one day you are swimming like a pro. Find alternative goals to help yourself to solve that fear. Okay, I'm afraid of going to the gym and join that class, but I am going to start walking. Or I am going to join the group, the book club, or I am going to do something. Then you have more tools, more resources to go for the biggest fear. It is fear about something like the snakes, like spiders or cars or something like that. There is something called immersion therapy. So immersion therapy is the therapist helping you to actually jump into the action and do that. I'm afraid of elevators, so the therapist will go with you into the elevator and help you to breathe and help you to focus. The therapist will go to you to sit in the car, or in the session, the therapist will do some sessions like a guided imagery session to help you to feel like you are in the elevator or you are there. So in the theory, it says that kind of therapy is better when it's a long session and more frequent. If you are going to be in the elevator for 30 seconds, doesn't help. Get the elevator and get 12 floors or 14 floors, not 13, but 14, 12, 20. Get something meaningful. Because if you pass that, you will be ready for 1 or 2 floors later. So immersion therapy suggests do it. Do it in a big way. When it's about mental fear, when it's about psychological fear, it's better to look for memories of times when we succeed already doing something. We all succeed about something already in our life. So bring memories of that, and that will help you to face new fears. For example, I am afraid of public speaking. Oh, but I already can do a phone call. I already can visit the doctor. I already can make new friends. Okay, then I can pull some of these traits of my personality to solve the new one. So seeking help, that matters. Seek help from people who is willing to help. Seek help from people who are professionals in managing fears, or friends who really love you and they are not afraid. Because if you seek help from people who is more afraid than you, well, you have a long way to go, the both of you. So have you ever wondered why fear is so... We avoid fear, but also we pursue fear, like horror movies. Have you ever wondered why? I wondered actually when I was doing this topic. Like horror movies, extreme sports, games that produce fear, suspense, etc. And you know what was my reflection? I came to the conclusion that actually people who overcome those fears gain respect. You respect them. You see the movie, you see that, and you start respecting that people. And respect is very necessary feeling in life. We want to feel respected. So of course we go after those movies because we want to learn how these people did. We want to see how they succeed. Well, sometimes, especially for children in the elementary school age, sometimes our brain thinks that we are going through that. If you are watching a horror movie, if you are witness of something, your brain doesn't make a difference sometimes. So it thinks that you are experimenting. So I don't see the point of why you need to experiment all of this fear when you are actually safe in your home. I don't see the point of horror movies, sorry, but not for me. It's a whole industry, so I'm not going to go against the industry. But the question is why I need to need terror in my life. Why I need to face terror. What is happening with me? Something that I am questioning is if we lose the taste for soft and sweet emotions. You know, sometimes in the food, when we eat something, we look for very strong flavors. We look for something very elaborate because we forgot completely what is the sweetness of a pure vegetable or the sweetness of just plain water. We get these very high energized drinks, we get alcohol, we get everything. And sometimes we forget completely what does mean to drink water and the pleasure, the pure pleasure of drinking water. And it's the same for the emotions. We look for terror because we forget how meaningful and beautiful it is to feel peace, love, companionship, gratefulness. Those are very sweet emotions that we just pass quickly. We don't take the time to experiment in them. So another question that I have, if you are into facing your fears strongly in a very inadequate way, is do you have the need to prove who you are? Do you really have the need to prove who you are? Because if you do, well, that is not helping you to face your fears. You are going after one extreme sport after another. You are going after something, but you actually are so afraid of making small and sweet connections with people who is most important to you. So I wish, this is not to judge, this is not to make you feel in any way inadequate or incompetent or anything. It's just, those are just observations. Whatever it helps you, please treasure it. Keep it. Keep analyzing. Keep incorporating it into your life. Whatever is not helpful, just put it in the trash. Just forget to say, this Dr. Carmen is not right, doesn't make sense. And that's okay. That's okay for me. My goal is that you have a better life. My goal is that we all have a better life. We all get to experience peace, harmony, balance. This is the goal here. Before we finish this podcast today, I want to ask you if you can help me by going into iTunes and put your opinion, rate this podcast, subscribe to it. It's really important to get the feedback and to see how we are doing, what you like the best, and what you would like for us to incorporate. You can also send me an email and go to the website and contact me and send me an email with any questions, suggestions, everything that comes to your mind. That's okay. And please subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with the people you love, because we want more people happy. We definitely want more people happy. And by doing steps like this, we can cooperate for our own happiness and other people's happiness. So have a nice week and talk to you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode. Join us for the next podcast of Emotions in Harmony. We hope you have more tools to put what you have learned here into practice. Visit carmenroman.net, where you can be in touch with Dr. Roman.